Our very first show, we did really well. We were really lucky, and we ended up selling everything except for 2 animals, I'm pretty sure. And the first day that we posted on Morph Market, we sold so many animals in that first 24-hour period that we actually had to take off all of the other ones. That way we had animals for that show. Hi friends, my name's Steven with Leviathan Snakes, and for this week's video, we want to talk about the idea that people won't buy from new breeders, because in our experience, it's just wrong, it's just false. I think that people love buying from new breeders, but there are some key things that a new breeder, or really any breeder, doesn't matter if they're new or not, needs to do for the consumer in order to make that experience the best one possible. So if you guys are interested, stay tuned. Before we jump into it, I just wanted to say, this is Aries. He's our sunset boy, and he's actually my favorite one of our ball pythons. He's just the freaking best. We got him when he was a little baby. He has the best personality. He's like a little puppy dog. And this is actually his first season pairing and breeding for us. So we're super excited. He's had a lock with our clown female Pennywise, and we're so freaking stoked. We actually have a video that I can put up in the description, I'm not sure, or cards or whatever it is. I'm not sure which one it is, which side, but it goes through all of our pairings for the 2022 season. So if you guys are interested, definitely check that out. Anyways, on to the topic for this week's video. In order for a consumer to feel that they want to buy from any business, specifically a ball python breeder, there are a couple different things that they need to have, every single consumer. And the one of the most important ones is trust. And when it comes to trust, this doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to trust them with their wallet or bank account or anything like that, but that the animal that they are purchasing from that breeder is what they say it is. And there's lots of different ways that goes through this. But I want to use a marketing theory that applies to general business, but I think that it's really important to talk about it in terms of ball pythons, because you can do this the second that you decide that you want to become a breeder. You don't need any money for it. You don't need really any additional animals like babies that you've already produced. It's not like you have to wait until you've made snakes and then sold the snakes in order to start building trust with potential consumers. So for the marketing funnel, or this marketing theory, it is the consumer marketing funnel. And there's lots of different variations of it. The one that I want to talk about specifically has 4 different elements. So the first stage of the consumer marketing funnel, which this whole theory is just the journey that a consumer takes as they buy a product. And that doesn't mean that every consumer hits every single one of these points, or that you don't necessarily skip stages, or maybe you'll see when I get up to it. You might see something, make an impulse buy, and then you already went through your awareness phase, completely skipped the engagement phase and went to conversion. But for the most part, for animals, pets, and especially high dollar items, these are the stages that a lot of people go through. First stage of the consumer marketing funnel is the awareness stage. So what this is that when you are a consumer and you want to buy an animal, let's say that you decided that you wanted to get into the sunset project, what you do is you go searching for sunset animals, and you have to become aware of who produces these animals. And you might find Brad Boa, Brock Wagner, Always Evolving Pythons. These are people who are really established in the project and that they are leading it. And because of that, they often have a lot of content that makes it easy to find them. So if you, as a new breeder, are wanting to get into a high-end project or just any project, the first stage is creating content that can be put in front of people who might want to buy from you, just so they know that you're there. They know that you have the... He's giving me kisses over here. Just so that they know that you have the solution that they're looking for. And also, remember that there are different solutions for different consumers. The person who wants to buy a visual sunset is completely different than the person who wants to buy their very first pet snake. And that there are better solutions for the person who wants to buy a beautiful pet snake than selling them a $5,000 sunset. So giving me a little bit of a hug now, so it's not quite as comfortable. But anyways, moving on. So from the awareness phase, a lot of it, if you're not going to spend money on it, you're not going to use traditional advertisement or paid advertisement, is going to come from social media. And this is specifically your organic posts. So the goal of this phase, whenever you are building it up a year, 2 years, 3 years before you ever produce an animal, is to make as many different pieces of content that can raise awareness for yourself and your brand as possible. So not just doing 1 piece a week or 3 pieces a week, instead doing a piece every single day. That way, every single day you have a different, new, organic opportunity to find people who may want to do business with you in the future. So the organic part, specifically content, it's the things that you make, not necessarily sharing other people's posts, not commenting on them, not sending DMs, not scrolling for hours on Facebook, but you have to create original content, not memes either. Though memes aren't necessarily bad, but it's the original content that you're producing. That is what's going to raise awareness for your brand. And I do think that it's important to talk about branding, but this isn't a branding video. There are a lot of really, really good pieces of content all about building a brand, but it is, in my opinion, important to have a strong brand. And this is partly a logo, but it's also your color scheme, it's your voice, the persona that you are presenting to the consumer, and I think it's important to be deliberate about it. Again, this isn't a branding video, so we're not going to get down into that rabbit hole because there's a lot of really, really cool, interesting content about branding, but it's important to have one and know what your brand is and know why it is that. So, one last little bit. When you are getting a logo, if you're paying anybody to do it, realistically, you need 3 different file types. You need a raster file type, and this is going to be often used for digital stuff like your social media icons. And the minimum resolution you want on this is 72 dots per inch at whatever size. So if it's 1,000 pixels by 1,000 pixels, it needs to be at 72 dots per inch in order for it to be crystal clear on a screen. But if you print it out, it will get blurry because a lot of printers go up to 300 dots per inch. So if you are going to use a logo that you ever want printed on business cards, if you want to put on t-shirts or anything like that, you want to make sure that you have at least a raster image of 300 dots per inch, and you want it in the color code of CMYK instead of RGB, which is RGB is for digital, CMYK is for print. It will slightly change your colors. If you try to print a RGB just straight off of a printer and you're going to get it, you're like, why do these colors look a little wrong? And then last one is a vector file. You want a vector file because if you have to do a really, really big graphic, like let's say you want to use it on the back of a backdrop or something at a show, your vector file can scale as big as you want and it will never get pixelated because it's being generated not off of dots, little dots that have color-coded things, but instead it's being generated based off of mathematical formulas. And when you're making a logo, you should be able to have all 3, and you generally want one that's in color and black and white. So just little bits on logo. But again, this isn't a branding video. This is only important for your awareness phase because your logo becomes like your signature. Whenever they see a piece of content that has your logo on it, or they see your logo, enough times that they see it, they're just going to start associating all of the values, like let's say with sunset. Let's say you see sunsets in every single one of our videos, you see us post a bunch of pictures about sunset, and you always associate it with our planet logo. Eventually, you will recognize the planet logo and associate it with sunset. So if you ever wanted a sunset and you see that we had a post up on Morph Market or something, and it had our logo on it, and you see a sunset, you're like, oh, that's legit, yeah, because I know that they're in that project. That's how logos work. They're just like a shorthand to really, really quickly cash in all of the credibility that you have built with a potential customer. And it gives a way for them to attribute any positive or negative experiences they had towards that logo. The logo doesn't matter itself, it's all of the stuff that goes around the logo that matters. But anyways, that's brand awareness phase. The goal in this phase is to make lots of different pieces of content, generally on different types of social media platforms, but it can also be websites, it can be emails, anything like that. but lots of different pieces of content so that way people have lots of different ways to find you and the things that you are going to be producing. So that is awareness phase. The second phase of the consumer marketing funnel is based off of engagement, and the whole goal of the engagement phase is to build trust with your potential customers. So it's not just enough to run a Facebook ad and put $1,000 behind it, and it's a picture of a sunset, and it's saying sunsets for sale, which you actually can't do because Facebook and Instagram actually ban the sale or advertisement of live animals. So Facebook's really strict on it, Instagram isn't, but I do believe in a lot of the pages that get pulled down, if you've seen it within the community, oftentimes I feel like that is probably the contributing factor to it, is that they are actually violating guidelines. If you ever see a post where it's snake for sale, $1,000, or DM me for a price, and you can tell that it's an advertisement, that's actually against Facebook and Instagram's terms of service. So be careful on that. Don't just throw out an advertisement on Facebook or Instagram because you don't want to lose your entire platform and all that. Anyways, back onto this. For the engagement phase, you don't just want to put out ads, if you can think of it. Instead, you want to create conversations with the potential customers or just audience members, friends that you have built around all of that content that you've generated during your awareness phase. So your engagement phase, this is really focused on comments, both on your own posts and on other people's posts, as well as direct messages, collaborative projects, whether they're lives, or maybe you go over to somebody's house and help them clean their snakes or rodents or anything like that. You are building trust within the community by engaging with the community. It's not enough to just simply post content. You can make the best videos in the world. You can take the best pictures, but if you never engage with the people who are showing interest in them, you're not going to generate enough of a viable, strong, loyal base to turn all of that awareness effort into a potential, actual legitimate business. So your engagement phase is all about making conversation with people and building meaningful connections. So a little bit of a tip on this one when you're trying to find ways, how do you just start conversations naturally, is everybody in the reptile hobby has a common element, and that's these guys, the snakes. We all love them, and it makes it really, really easy to start conversations because you can search for people who are in the same projects as you, and you can start up a conversation saying, if you see somebody with a clown, you can say, oh man, that's a gorgeous clown, absolutely love it. I'm hoping to hit my first clowns this year, even if you're a new breeder. And that is an organic conversation, and you can just talk about it. And a lot of times people want to help new breeders. They want to share knowledge. It's not super, super cutthroat where everybody's in it for just themselves, but you need to engage with others and open up lines of conversation, not just wait for somebody else to do it for you. Another thing on the engagement phase, and this is actually one of the best benefits of YouTube, but I don't necessarily think that everybody should jump into YouTube because it is a lot of work to make videos, and we only make one video a week right now. Previously, we were doing up to 3 videos a week, and it was too much for me. I am willing to say that I could not handle that. Between snakes and work and school and family and friends and trying to shoot and edit 3 different YouTube videos a week, it was too much. But I do think it's important to stay consistent. That's why we're down to 1 video a week. Anyways, so when it comes to YouTube, I think it's a really, really good platform to build engagement because they're long-form content. As you watch this video and you see me actually talk and interact, it's way, way more personal. It's almost like we are in the same room hanging out with each other. It's way more personal than just posting a picture on Instagram. So even though I believe that the organic content piece that's not conversations is generally an awareness phase, I feel that if you can get really good at long-form video content, that can be a way to build a lot of trust with potential audience members because they know you, they can see you, and it's way easier to see when somebody's full of crap in a video than it is on an Instagram post. So that's one thing. I like YouTube a lot, and I think that it's a really, really important platform for the ball python hobby. Your engagement phase is about building trust. Your awareness phase is about finding different ways, as many different ways as possible, for people to remember that you do X, or you do Y, or you do Z. So that way, when it comes time for the third phase of the marketing funnel, which is the conversion phase, you are primed and ready to go. So the conversion phase is sales. This is what a lot of people focus on. So when you go to a reptile show, pretty much everybody that's there is in the conversion phase. If you go to a reptile show, there's a very, very high likelihood, as like a person, not a vendor, there's a very, very high likelihood that you are looking to buy an animal. So the reason why reptile shows are really, really good is that you are able to capture a market, a small market, because it might be local, it might be huge, it might be like Tinley or Daytona or Arlington or anything like that. But you're able to capture a market who has resources that available to make the purchase, and they have a need. So at that show, if you can show, hey, I can satisfy this need for you, doesn't matter if you're a new breeder. Doesn't matter if you've been doing it for 20 years. It does not matter at all if like we were ever at the point where we had a booth right next to Justin Kobolka or something, and somebody comes up and they go to Justin first because everybody knows Justin. He has a huge, huge branding value even with Canova, even with the new brand and everything. And they're like, hey man, do you have this very, very specific animal, let's say a leopard double het sunset clown or something like that? He's like, no man, but these guys do. That's it. Like you're not necessarily competing with the big brands as a new breeder because everybody has different animals. Everybody works different projects. This doesn't mean that there's not overlap, but I don't think that new breeders necessarily need to slash their prices so that way, because they believe that the only way somebody will buy from them is if they have a really, really good deal. I know for a fact, actually, that people, real quick anecdote. At our very first show, we had a bunch of different animals, maybe not like a crazy amount, but we had a solid amount of animals, and we sold really, really well that show. And specifically, there was a pet owner who was looking at a pastel Mojave female that we had. And she actually was really, really rude. And that's how we described her as, that she was pretty defensive, and not just like defensive as in like balling up, but like striking out and stuff like that. And that unless they had experience working with reptiles before, we didn't think that that would be a good animal for a pet owner. And they had worked with animals, or they had worked with ball pythons before, and they liked the idea of the challenge of growing as a keeper to tame down a slightly more defensive animal. So we talked, we made a good connection, but they walked around the show to look around. And when they come back, they went to another, they came back and bought her from us, and they told us that they had actually went to a different breeder's table, and that they found that they had a Orange Dream pastel Mojave female for a cheaper price than the one that we had on our table. But they wanted to buy ours because they had made a connection to us and they trusted us that we were going to take care of them. And if we needed, or if they needed any help, if they needed any information, that we were more than willing to give that to them, not just simply, here's a transaction, give me my money, here's your snake, done. So I think that that's really important in the conversion step, is having as much information to the consumer as possible, even before they make a sale. The customer service starts way before any money is exchanged. And if you can convey a really, really strong sense of customer service, even if you're a new breeder, you are going to make so many sales that other people would miss out on, because it gets to the point where, especially big breeders, it doesn't matter to them. They're gonna make so many sales anyway, it's not worth their time to spend an hour talking about a $180 snake when they have people who are willing to drop thousands like that. So just, if you're a new breeder, really, really pay attention to customer service, because that can be a competitive edge that makes you stand out during the conversion phase. In addition, on the conversion phase, the engagement phase was all about building trust with people who are watching your content. One way that you can build trust with somebody who didn't see any of your content, hasn't seen any of your social media posts, anything like that, is to provide a lot of information. So this concept, I don't remember all of them, but the idea is that ways that people build trust is through relatability. People trust others who they perceive to be like them. So that's one, relatability. Then it's transparency. They have to believe that the person that they are interacting with is giving them all of the information that they possibly have, and they're not hiding anything from them. So being upfront about prices, being upfront about, for example, that specific animal, we were like, she's rude, she's defensive, you might not want her. That transparency establishes trust within a consumer. And then last one is traceability. So not only do people trust people because we are like each other, or that they believe that they're telling them all of the information that they have, but they can show you, here are all of the different stages that created this project. So this is having pictures of locks, having pictures of the clutch, having documents, like we have a hatch card where it has the ID number of every single hatchling, it has the parents' morphs, it has their hatch date, it has their initial weight, and it has every single time that they've eaten or shed on it. And all of that extra information is able, or we do it so that way the consumer can trace everything that has happened for that animal before they got it. And having all three of those, relatability, transparency, and traceability together will make you stand out during the conversion phase, and it will make people really, really trust you. So, conversion phase, I've talked about shows a lot, and a lot of this stuff does apply, just customer service, traceability, stuff like that, to online sales, but it's not the same. Posting snakes on Morph Market is completely different than going to a show and vending. So when we posted snakes to Morph Market, one is a lot of snakes on Morph Market are taken on a plain white background. And this is generally done so that way people can get a good idea of how the snake looks. But Morph Market is a sales website. That's the whole point of it. Maybe not the Morph Encyclopedia thing, which is super, super freaking cool. If you guys haven't checked it out, we're gonna link to it below. Awesome, awesome tool. But, so Morph Market is a sales website, and if you are putting up your primary advertisement, the primary creative that is catching people's interest, and it is a snake on a white background, just like every other post on there, or every other picture on there, you are not going to stand out from the crowd. You just won't. Won't happen. So things that you want to do is you want to take really, really high quality pictures, but that alone won't get you in front of other people. The way that you can guarantee that you will never, ever, ever get confused with somebody else is if you are able to work your branding, your logo, your color scheme, all of that stuff that is unique to your brand somehow into the pictures and make it look professional and make it look high quality. So I'm gonna throw up a couple pictures of our things that we had posted. And again, these animals sold within 24 hours of Morph Market. They were the first things we had posted on there. They sold immediately, even though they're really like high value animals. We sold some banana clowns and some female banana het clowns. And I think that that's really, really important, because if you're buying from a new seller and you're buying a heterozygous animal from a new seller, you have to really, really trust them that they are not going to screw you over. Specifically, a female banana clown or female banana het clown, I think it's really important. But anyways, when you are making your pictures on Morph Market, I think that it is important to make them stand out from all of the other pictures that are being posted, and to accurately represent the animal in the best light possible. As in, like, you want it to look good, but you don't want it to look so good that when they get the animal, they're like, they photoshopped the image, or they edited it so much, or they had it in the absolute perfect condition that it does not look like, in real life, it doesn't look like the pictures. You don't want that. You always want it to look better than it did in the pictures, but you still want your pictures to stand out from everybody else. I do not recommend using a plain white background or a plain black background. Again, there's a whole thing on photography. That's not what this video is on, but I do think that's a video for a future time, is taking product photos specifically for advertisements. All right, moving on from the conversion stage. One last thing on conversion stage, actually, before I move into the last one. The conversion stage, besides trust and ability to find it and it solving a need, consumers want convenience. So if you have to wait, if you post an animal and let's say that the animal is bring a new hatchling and you still need to get it like several meals in it before it can sell, the inconvenience of it can make it, the inconvenience of not being able to get the animal in a timely manner may turn off some sellers. So I generally wait until you are ready to sell the animal, like you're actually ready to sell the animal, which we didn't actually follow that advice right away, before you list it, because you might lose out on some potential opportunities that way. For the last stage of the consumer marketing funnel, and this is actually one that most businesses don't do. They'll do customer service. They'll do customer service after the sale, but they're always in that kind of conversion mindset where it's just about, oh, we are supporting this sale that we already made. The last stage is called the advocacy stage of the consumer marketing funnel, and this is closer to the engagement phase than it is to the conversion phase. So in the engagement phase, you are taking people who were aware of your brand, maybe they had seen a post, maybe they'd seen you at a show, something like that, and you are making conversation with them and you are connecting with them. The advocacy stage is connecting with the people who have already converted, they have already taken the action that you wanted them to do. And what I think is really important about this is that you are partly trying to recognize them and give social support and social proof that the choices that they made were right and that they made a right decision to work with you. And the way that you do that is standing out from everybody else. But this doesn't necessarily mean that you have to make the absolute best ball python that's ever existed. Instead, you can do things that show that you care about them as a consumer more than anybody else. And it's actually not hard at all. Let's say 2, 3, 4 weeks after the sale, you go on to all of the addresses that you've collected and you get out some note cards or maybe some branded note cards, anything like that. Doesn't matter. And you write a personal note. Maybe you go check them out on social media and you try to find a way to connect with them. So if you see that they've had like a barbecue or something like that and they were celebrating like 4th of July or maybe somebody's birthday, in your note card you just want to mention it. Be like, oh, tell little Billy happy birthday or something for me. We hope that the snake is doing well. We really, really appreciated your support. Please reach out to us at all if you ever need anything. And you handwrite it and you mail it. You mail it, physically mail it, because what happens is people don't get actual handwritten letters very often. And people don't get unexpected handwritten letters very often. So they bought a snake from you. They bought a snake from you a week ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. They may have kept in contact with you, they may not have, but when they get a letter that has your logo on it, it's branded, things like this, and they see that there's a handwritten note that shows that you have taken personal interest in what they are doing, it makes them feel way more valued and connected to you. Even if the animal, nothing else was different about the animal, that itself can build an intense amount of loyalty that if they ever need an animal or if they ever have a problem that they need that you could solve them with, you will be the first person that they come to. But the thing is, you can't just do this once. It is just like the engagement phase. You have to continually nurture them, these potential people that will become your advocates, because the thing is, even if they don't become a repeat business for you, or they buy $10,000 worth of snakes in another year or something like that, whenever somebody that they know is looking for an animal, they will always recommend you. It will become the word of mouth marketing. So I'm sure a lot of people have heard that word of mouth is the strongest form of marketing. This is how you do it, is once you've already converted somebody, you've already made the sale, you've already made them a customer, and you convince them that you will take care of them like nobody else will. Nobody will come close to the amount of attention and detail and care that you will give for them. And you do this through small, unexpected, personalized connections, whether it's engagements, whether it's just reaching out to them on their birthday, on like a DM, but you have to keep doing it. If you don't do it, eventually they will forget about you. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having somebody that you really, really liked doing business with, but they just never reached out to you for 2 years, and then whenever you want a new snake, you forget that you liked doing business with them so much. You need to continually nurture that relationship. But if you do it well, if you make an impact on people, you make them feel valued, and you never, ever make them feel like they're wasting your time, they will become brand advocates for you, and it will make your business way, way stronger because you won't have to do as much work to go out and promote your items. People will be coming to you. They will say like, hey, I talked to Joe Smith and he said that you are the best snake breeder he's ever dealt with before. Do you happen to have any het pied females? You will get messages yourself. And once you do this well, once you do this often, it will get to the point where you may not ever actually have to post on Morph Market, or you may never have to go to a show because your own organic marketing efforts and your own advocacy that you have generated through loyal customers will be able to sell all of the animals for you. So when people say that the snakes sell themselves, a lot of times this is what they mean. This is how it happens, even if they don't realize it. I say all of this stuff because a lot of this is like high overview of strategy, and it's way easier to say it than to implement it. But it's not limited. None of this says that you have to have 10, 15, 20 years of experience breeding animals. Honestly, I feel that a new ball python breeder who gets in today, right now, and does all of this stuff, they will stand out so much from everybody else to be like, oh, they're really, really good. They're gonna go places. I wanna do business with them. They may not have the animal that I'm looking for now, but I'm watching them because at some point in the future, they probably will, and I'd love to support them because they seem like such genuine, good people that care about me and they care about helping me. I think that that's the last little key that I want to talk about. All of your marketing, in my opinion, whether it's organic social media, whether you're paying for it, whether it's at a show, it should be all about helping the consumer get the best experience, get the best product, get the best solution for whatever problem they are looking for as possible. It should never be about, I need to sell this animal, please buy it. Or I need to sell this animal fast, or I'm having trouble selling this animal, so I'm going to slash the price to get somebody to buy it. It should always be about helping the consumer, not just selling an animal. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I know it was a bit long. I know that it's not as many different snakes as we have been doing, but I freaking love Aries. And I also love talking about marketing and stuff. So if you guys enjoy the channel, please hit the subscribe button, leave a comment, and if you want to talk, go over to Instagram, follow us at Leviathan_snakes, send us a DM because we're on there every single day. It's way easier to have conversations on Instagram than it is on YouTube because YouTube only has the comments, they don't have like a direct message feature. Feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to talk to you if you want to talk about marketing, you want to talk about sunsets, you want to talk about ball pythons, whatever you want. Send us a message, we'll get back to you. Thanks again, and we will see you next week.